couple of minutes ago, the D4 dev team held their first of their two-part campfire chat, detailing all the changes and updates that are coming to Season 2 and Diablo 4. So this first dev stream really focused a lot on Season of the Blood, Season 2 that begins on 10/17. Quality of life updates, dungeons, gems, and more. They didn't go over unique item updates and changes. They didn't go over any class changes, as well as damage bucket updates as well, which include vulnerable, crit, overpowered, and things like that. They didn't go over any of those. That's scheduled for next week, which is on the 10th. So if that's what you really wanted to see and hear about, this video is not going to cover that. Neither is if you go and watch the whole thing. I think it's the whole live stream is about maybe 2-ish hours about um going over that. So I wanted to give you guys a bit of a, in case you missed it, rundown, because a lot of it was, being almost of a 2-hour stream was long, as well as some things they went over was just like, this is not really what I was looking for. Some things are just like not enough. Like overall, I thought the stream was strong. It started off really strong and it gave me a bit of a hope. But then as it started to go on, a lot of the stuff was still a little bit, my hype started to dwindle a little bit more. Um, just because the first part really gave me the sense that the player, that us, our time will be respected and will be respected a bit more. And I'll go through some of the reasons why it felt like that. So let's just hop right into it, right? So one thing they went over to was improve seasonal mechanics of the vampire board and seasonal powers for all classes and not specific classes. So what that means is compared to like season one of Malignant, we got these malignant arts that were class specific. So playing on a rogue and you got something for necromancer, for sorcerer. This time around, all those seasonal powers are going to be just completely wide. Like any class will be able to use it. They're not going to be class specific, which means you're going to feel less of having to grind for a specific one or looking for a specific thing. Less RNG in that regards as well too, because once you get one of the seasonal mechanics and a little seasonal board, um, you are going to be able to adjust and build just off of that. They also have like a little season board as well that kind of looks like a Paragon board. It kind of gives me that style as well that you will have as well, which is really cool. Um, in addition to that, they're going to be adding these season specific events. That's going to be really cool. And you can start to do these at level 1. So this is just going to be like another breath of fresh air that you could add to your grind, so it doesn't feel like you're going to be doing the same thing from level 1 to 50 or from level 1 to 100. I think that's definitely going to be appreciated a bit by the community as well. New event that's for the season is going to scale as well. That's going to scale with world tiers and things like that. They talked about they're adding 5 new endgame bosses, and these bosses are going to be for the seasonal and eternal realms. And once the season ends, the bosses are going to remain. They're not going away. So even the season boss that is coming, once the season ends, it's going to always remain mainstay boss, which is really good. That's another boss you could add, which is cool. They're going to also be adding Duriel as a new level 100 boss, so it's not only Lilith, but now you have to fight Duriel for level 100. New bosses are farmable for uniques and uber uniques. Where if you want a specific unique, this is the boss that you're gonna have to grind. You're gonna know which ones to grind, which is definitely gonna help those who felt like uber uniques were a little bit too much uber rare. Because you'll know which kind of bosses you need to grind and hustle for. They went over XP bonus will now be multiplicative with world tiers. And they basically, in their research, has broken this down that getting to level 100 40% faster in world. That is huge. That is huge. That was a main painstake for a lot of the community. A lot of people will be like, once you reach level 80, it's kind of all the same. Um, and just in general, like being able to hit level 100 a little bit quicker kind of goes into respecting your time a little bit better. First of all, there's not even that much content to grind. You're trying to get to level 100. Now, um, it's also like super slow of a process. So being able to get to level 100 a little quicker, even in spite of the fact that still there isn't that much, I feel like that they've added in terms of one thing that kind of is a problem that we kind of see now for the Diablo team is that a lot of their they work on seasons like 2 months or like a season in advance. So like they've already started working on season 3 by the time season 1 dropped, and season 2 was probably like near complete. And so we're probably still not going to see more content until season 3 or season 4. So renown rewards also persist between season and new characters. So now if you start a new character, you don't have to be like, oh man, I have to regrind, get all these renown points again. That's a great quality of life update because a lot of that stuff starts to feel like homework. You know, if you are in school or you're working, you don't want to come home from school or work to then do more work. You wanted to come in, relax, and do this thing. Like, now sitting down here and season Malignant, I'm like, all right, well, I just had an hour of fun time. Time for me to go look for some altars of Lilith. You don't want that. You don't want that kind of experience. I don't want to do work after work. I wanted to come here, relax, hang out with some friends, and enjoy a good time, right? Um, so that's gonna be really cool. Some Now they went into some specific town and vendor updates. Some of those updates include the occultists are now going to be by the trees of whispers, which will help less a great quality of life. Stashes have been added to all small towns with waypoints, and additional stashes have been added to capital cities. This is great. This is fantastic. Because some cities didn't have stashes, and then you'd have to fast travel to another one, then fast travel back. Between those two alone, that was two load screens, which was just like, what are you doing here, guys? What's going on? Purveyors of curiosities are now closer to waypoints. Those little bastards were hiding in the cut, and you had to cut through a little dark alley. You had to go somewhere. You had to pay a small boy, a little small fortune to lead you to the guy. That's gotten rid of. They're now going to be closer to waypoints, which is going to be huge. And make it so that quickly get in and get out, spend your oblos. So a lot of times you return to town with full obolos or whatever they're pronounced, and you forget to spend them because they're way out the way and it wasn't in your mind. So you'd go back, you would go back to the map, come back like shit. Still don't have, I still don't have any space for all these obolos. So now that's being changed. Hopefully, it'll help keep that in front of the players' mind. Um, so then they went through mounts. So mount responsiveness have been improved, so it's less likely to get stuck or slow down unexpectedly. They also improved mount automatically jumping over traversals, which is great. Base movement speed has increased by 14%. So the movement speed you get when you're in town or when you're walking around, that's increased by 14%, but the top speed is still the same. I think that's pretty good overall. The best mount update coming is that spur breakthrough barricade cooldown. So now when you rush and you hit that little movement speed on your mount, now it'll break through barricades, so you don't need to get down, destroy the barricade, then get back on your mount. What a crazy idea! Why didn't we see this at first? Another huge mount updates as well is that base cooldown from manual mount for the horse has gone from 10 seconds to 5. A forced dismount has been decreased from 30 seconds to 15 seconds, and dismount skills have been decreased from 10 seconds to 3 seconds. Huge quality of life updates. We love to see. So they went into a little bit about Nightmare Dungeons. TP now takes players inside of the dungeon. No more of TPing in front of the dungeon, then needing to walk in. Another crazy idea. Why didn't this happen before? So TP now takes you directly in front of the dungeon, so you can immediately start grinding. That is going to be really huge. And again, that's another thing too, where it's like, although we're not getting that much content that the players wanted, at least they're making the grind of the current content a little bit better. Just a smidge. It seems like they're also increasing more mob density for dungeon events. Trap readabilities have been improved, so you can now easily see traps. They also, across the board, decrease the amount of CC that you will. So not just from CC of traps, but like monster CC as well. Those ice, spider webs, all of that have been greatly reduced. another really huge update they're doing for dungeons as well is that any mobs that exploded, those won't stack. So it's not like, a mob, one of the, you remember the human joints, they got the spiders in them, they blow up, and then sometimes the higher levels of those might also have another blow up capability. That's not gonna happen no more. That's not gonna be multiple mob blowing up, which is really good because that was definitely the scariest thing playing hardcore. Is like, all right, who's gonna explode? I've got to dodge. Cool. So, um, back to sort of the updates that they add. Items can now be marked as favorite, which will prevent them from being sold or salvaged. So not only do you have items marked as junk, you can now mark items as favorite, so you don't go on a mass junking spree. We've all been there. You also are going to have the option to now hide combat text. So, vulnerable, dodge, fortified, all of that. You could hide that in addition to numbers. One of my favorite updates is auto run. Auto run. You can now map a button to auto run, which has been my favorite thing. I've been tired of having to press whatever is my go forward button on my mouse. Auto run, great. We aren't getting a map overlay, but we are going to get a mini map. The mini map in the corner is going to be zoomed out to capture a wider area. That's definitely a huge plus as well. Giving it, adding more of that feel to the ARPG genre, the MMO light that they want this to be, whereas instead of this feeling a little bit like a RPG, single player. Um, we've already knew this, but gems no longer drop directly as rewards, so it won't go into your pocket. They won't go into your inventory. Instead, it'll go into your little pocket, like that little that fifth pocket you have in your jeans. You tuck for coins that nobody really uses for coins. It will not go in there, which will be great. In higher world tiers, normal, magic, and rare drops will be fewer. So by the time you're getting sacred and ancestrals, you should only be getting legendaries from that point on. So it shouldn't be no more normals and magics and rares once you're starting to get sacreds and ancestrals. They also updated a few dungeons and changed them for a better flow, so it doesn't feel like, instead of going the way some dungeons I felt was, you start at A, you have to kill a group of monsters at B, collect their spirit chasms, then take that to C. But for whatever reason, you would go to B. Sometimes there might be a B.1, you would miss B.1, and now you have to go all the way back. They're working on changing that. So now that the chances of that happen are less likely. That a few dungeons, they didn't say which one specifically, but they reworked a few dungeons so they flow a little better, and that way you could kind of really focus on one of the dungeons, which is getting in there, grinding, killing the monsters, and that is the most noteworthy updates that came from this dev stream, in my opinion. Overall, I'm pretty happy. I'm kind of more along the casual side. I mean, I played that was too many games, and so D4, even Season of Malignant right now, it feels very fun for me. Hop in, knock it out. What's always going to bring me back compared to like other ARPG? Um, Last Epoch, which I've also been playing, was like the world, the graphics, and the story is top notch. Like Last Epoch kind of just feels like that. What other people want, where you hop in and mobs and kill stuff. I like that, but I also really enjoy the cinematics and bad story. I mean, I'm enjoying them. I think I'm maybe halfway, and I'm only 20 on the battle pass, and so I think that I think this would be good. You get a lot of vampiric powers and stuff. It's cool. Might I'll try and show that as well. Maybe a little bit of that at the end. Anyways, if you enjoy this, like, subscribe. Try and do some more D4 content as much and as frequent as possible. I do enjoy the game.